Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing my what I read in February, my February wrap up, whatever you want to call it. Before we start, I just want to say I read a lot less books in February than I read in January, which I knew was going to happen, but on top of me like having full-time school in February, I also concussed myself in the middle of February. And then it didn't heal that fast because I had to do schoolwork still, and I do school online, so everything is online. And so that was just a whole thing, and that's why I didn't as much. Like, I knew it was gonna be a little less, but I still read 4 books, and I am like a third of the way through a fifth, which I'll talk about a little bit. So that's not bad actually at all. It just is like much lower than last month, because last month I think was 13 books. Also, this might like keep going back and forth, but for this video, I'm going to try not to do spoilers. Last week I did full spoilers. I just think that for these wrap-ups, it might make the most sense to not do spoilers because like then more people could watch it. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up my Notion with my books, which I was actually going to talk about my Notion last week and I forgot to. So I'll actually talk about it at the end of this video. I don't have anything crazy on Notion, but I am proud of it. So yeah. This month, for Black History Month, I read only Black authors. I think it's important that if you're going to be reading a lot to actively seek out diverse books. I try and do that just in general, but if you are just like picking up a book at a store, it's most likely not going to be a diverse book because of how the publishing industry works. And so that's what I did this month. I had a lot of books I want to read, which will probably just be read other months. So yeah. The first book I read is Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. I really liked this book. I didn't know much about this book before I went into it. I knew that I had a Tiffany D. Jackson book on my TBR. I don't own it. Let's Make a Rhyme, is that what it's called? Let Me Hear a Rhyme. I had on my TBR already, and that's like about the extent I knew of this author. But when looking up books, I saw this one and it really intrigued me, and also I saw people talking about this book on TikTok, I want to say. And so I picked this book up. My library had it. That also was like a contributor on what books I could get based on like what books I owned and what books my library had. So I picked up the book, and without getting into much spoilers, I don't think this is a spoiler. If you don't want anything at all, you can skip ahead. I don't think this is a spoiler. My first thought when reading this book was that it was like an imaginary friend situation, because basically it's about, you follow the main girl, Claudia, and she has a best friend, Monday, and her friend is missing, and no one seems to notice, no one seems to care, no one seems to think it's that big of a deal, no one. And she's like, all these things are weird, all these things are adding up to be like very weird, where is my friend? And initially I did think it was gonna be like an imaginary friend situation, like a psychological type thriller, I guess. Very quickly, like page 1, I thought that page 2 maybe, just because like, I don't know, the concept of like someone being missing and like no one caring, like, seems crazy to me. I know it happens actually a lot, but I was like, maybe. And yeah, I think the writing was really, really good. The last like quarter of the book, I was like, I read this at night, I finished it at night. I felt it was just written so well. It was just written so well, and like way things were described literally made me like sick, and like just the way things were described so well. Very sad. Definitely, like, if you get triggered by things, like, definitely look at trigger warnings before you read this book. Technically, it could spoil things, but, like, I think looking at trigger warnings is, like, more important than, like, spoiling a book. If it affects you. I know some people it doesn't affect, some people it does. And, like, so I gave this book a 4.5 on Storygraph, and I think I gave it a 4 on Goodreads. I really liked it. It just, like, wasn't, like, my favorite ever, but I think the writing was so good, and there was just like one aspect of the ending I didn't care for that much. Maybe like I kind of feel like it wasn't fully like fleshed out, but like that could have just been me. And so that's why I got like a 4.5. Only half a star. 4.5 is really good out of 5. So yeah. Okay, and then the next book I read is My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyinkan Braithwaite. And I got this recommendation actually off Reddit. I know everyone hates Reddit, but sometimes you can find good things off Reddit if you look up specific questions. And people were talking about their favorite books, and I saw this book and the title drew me in, the cover I really liked, and it was available, and so I got it. So it follows the main character Corday, and her sister Ayula is a serial killer who has killed multiple significant others of hers, and Corday not helps her kill, but like helps her like clean it up, and she's kind of like her confidant and also like covers everything up for her. And it just follows that situation. Also it delves into like their childhood and the turmoil that can cause that kind of relationship while trying to live like a normal life. And I think the way it was written was so good. It was a very, very compelling like look at how people process trauma in different ways, which I didn't really know that that's kind of what the book was going to take, especially because the writing style isn't necessarily super serious, even though it's like obviously a pretty serious topic, like pretty intense topic, but it's not like written in a very serious manner. Like there are jokes there, and the nonchalance that the main character talks about these things is very interesting. I haven't seen this book recommended enough. I got into it. I read it super fast. Like, it's a very intriguing book, and it is written just so well. Like, this writing style for this type of book, I don't know. It just somehow works, even though it isn't that super serious type, even though it's like a super serious topic. I don't know. I would really, really recommend this book. I gave it 5 stars. I was shocked that on Goodreads, I think it has like a 3 point something. I really, really liked it. I think it was good. I think it was really good. Okay, next, I read Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn. You might be thinking, this book has been out for like a year. Why have you not read it? And the reasoning is, I have an issue with long books being in hardcover. I like can't do it because I mostly read in my bed, and I like holding a hardcover that's like long, literally like I just can't do it. It's just not enjoyable for me, and I can't get into it because it like hurts my hands. I'm being a baby, I know. And like if a book is shorter, it's fine because it's not as like, I don't know, it doesn't hurt my hands as much. And like, yeah, I don't know if that makes sense. So I hadn't read it, okay? I tried to. I'd gone like 80, 60 pages in maybe, and I had like had it from the library, and I went and returned it. But then I immediately pre-ordered the paperback. So I'm like, when the paperback comes out, I'm getting it. I got like the Target. Oh, I literally have the book. I got the like Barnes & Noble exclusive with the like symbol for the series and the bonus chapters at the end. And so I pre-ordered this, which I didn't know if you pre-order on Barnes & Noble, you don't get it the day it comes out. You get it a couple days later, but that's fine. But yeah, it has like the bonus chapter from, whose point of view was it? Selwyn or Nick? I can't remember. And then the like first chapter of Oathbound. And I read this book. I read it super, super fast, even though it's like 500 something pages. 550 pages. I read this super fast because I've talked about Legendborn before. I love this series so much. Never, ever, ever read writing this good, and I'm just not a fantasy person. I never have been a fantasy person, and this series is just amazing. It's just immaculate. I love the main character. I love her so much. Like, I love Brianna, and I love Alice, and I love Selwyn, and I love William, and I love the characters. I love the cast. I like the like real world issues that are discussed through this like fantasy world. But I just love this book. It just is like so good, and it has the like where it's like fantasy, because I've talked about this before. If it's like a concept of, I love reading romance, right? Those books can be romance. If it's a book that's not like romance, I don't want the romance to be in the top tier of plots. I want it to be very much sub, and this one is. The romance is very much like subplot, same as like how I really liked Good Girl's Guide to Murder, because the romance was subplot, and the like main plot, the like fantasy, the like turmoil of this like society. I just love it. I just really love it. But I'm gonna have to wait a year for this book to come out, for Oathbound to come out, and then I have to wait who knows how long for the 4th one. I didn't even know there was 4. I thought there was 3. There originally was 3, and now there's 4. And this ended on such like a cliffhanger, and like no one is doing great, and like that's what always happens, right? Like I've read a lot of dystopia, and the second book never is like, people aren't ending up in a like amazing spot, you know, like that just doesn't happen. I knew that, but a year. I just want to read it. If anyone knows how to get an arc for Oathbound, oh my god, I would do anything, because I love this series so much. Also the fact that these line up, I don't have my other book, but they line up to make a sword. I just love these books. But I will be reading Oathbound like the day it comes out. I'm gonna like get it on my Kindle because I can't do the hardcover because I'm a baby, okay? It really is. But once again, Tracy Deonn, like, her writing is just unmatched, and I've said this multiple times, I think. If you ever, well, first, if you like fantasy, also if you don't even like fantasy, because I don't even love fantasy, if you're at a bookstore or your library and they have Bloodmarked, just read the, like, prologue. You'll see the writing is just so good. Like, I don't know how to explain it any better. It's just writing I've never seen writing that good. And that's all I have to say. That's all I have to say. I gave Bloodmarked a 5. Also, for a spoiler for Bloodmarked, and go ahead if you haven't and you don't want to hear. It's a very small spoiler, but I want to make my piece known. Oh, and we can talk about this too. Small spoilers for Bloodmarked. This is the only one I'll be doing spoilers. Okay, it's a true love triangle. When do you see that? When do you see that? And I am Team Selwyn. Sue me. I usually would not be Team Selwyn, and I don't hate Nick. It's just, like, the fact that he's, like, nice, and I feel like he's gonna betray her. In my mind, he's too nice. I don't like how nice he is. Also, like, I don't know, I think Selwyn and Bree can, like, relate more based on, like, how they are in this system, whereas, like, Nick has, like, benefited from this system, this, like, fantasy, or this, like, magic system, and, like, Selwyn and Bree kind of, like, are in similar type situations. Like, Bree, they're in different ones, but, like, I just think they can relate to each other. Okay, that's all I have to say. That's I just had to speak my piece. I just had to say it. Okay, Neighbor Favor by Christina Ford. I really liked this book. I read it super fast. It was, like, a super easy romance. It wasn't, like, a top tier romance for me. I still gave it a 4. I really like the characters. I think the second chance was good. Sometimes I think that I read a romance and I'm like, I think these are a little immature. It doesn't feel like realistic real life adults. I didn't feel that way. I felt like it was realistic. I liked it. I liked the concept of it. I liked the growth of the main female character. Lily, I really like the growth of Lily, and I don't know. I just really liked Lily, and I liked Nick as well. I really like the characters. Ultimately, and this is going to seem very, very, like, extra of me, I gave it 4 because there's a line where Nick, like, describes Lily, and he's, like, looking out his window, and I don't remember what the full line is, but he, like, uses the term, like, slim thick, and I just, like, it took me out of it a little bit, you know, like, it took me out of it a little bit, and, you know, maybe that's on me, and, like, it's petty to take a whole star off for that, but besides that, I think it was a really cute romance story. I really liked it. I've been reading, like, is this even true? I think it's true. I've been reading, like, a ton of romance lately, just because, like, I read so many that disappointed me, but I really liked this one. That's why I ultimately gave it a 4. And then, since I was reading this book this month, I'm only, like, a 4th of the way through. I'm 100 pages in. No, I'm, like, a 3rd of the way through. I'm a little less than a 3rd of the way through. I'm going to talk about this book a little bit. It will be in, like, I'll fully talk about it in my next reading wrap-up, obviously, but that is Publius by Hayden Pavilion, which I have had this book for so long because I found it on TikTok, and it was self-published, and it was literally by this boy who was in high school. He was, like, 16, and I'm like, okay. And it is kind of like, you know, like the plot where it's like, someone knows something. There's someone texting these teenagers about, like, secrets they're holding type, which there's a lot of things like that, which I do think I find a little bit of a hard time getting into things like that because it is so popular. Like, there's TV shows like Pretty Little Liars, that was a little different. Gossip Girl, which I actually didn't watch. Then there was, like, Ace of Spades. Like, it's a very, like, common trope, but I do get into it anyway. I've been having fun reading it. I just, like, haven't been able to read a lot because of my concussion. Like, I'm finally getting able to read again, so that is a book I wanted to read. I had a lot more books I wanted to read, a lot of books I was excited about reading that I just didn't get to, but I will probably be reading those later throughout the year because after doing a lot of research, I was like, I'm super excited about these books because I actually haven't done a ton of research on books lately just because I have so many. I've been trying to, like, get that number down, which is why, like, last month I read, like, basically only books I owned because that is, like, what I was trying to do, and so I haven't been doing a lot of research, but that is my wrap up for the month. And then I'll just go over, like, my Notion really quick because I made my, like, 2024, like, books I read this year, And so it is very basic. I just think it looks cute. And there might be like some spoilers in these little like sentences, so just like don't look too deeply in it if you don't want spoilers. But on this left side, I have like my ratings, which is kind of explains how I rate things. Like 5 is like love my life. I love this book so much. And 4 is like I like this book. Like I like this book, and yeah, it's just like 5 is like a feeling. And it doesn't mean the book's like the best book ever. 3 is just fine. Like it's like I don't hate it, I don't love it. 2 is not for me, but I can understand why others like it. Like I can understand why others might have this as their top book, but it's like not for me, which is like kind of like how like normal people feels for me. Then number 1 is I can't understand why anyone would like this, and that is me being a hater, and I do completely understand that. Okay, I do understand. Here's my little reading goal. I have 17 out of 60. This just shows like my progress because here's a little bar. I could put percentage. I just don't like how it looks. Then I've been adding each book for the year a star rating in just one sentence. This helps me like with these videos. Also, it helps me like remember books. Sometimes I read so fast and I like forget what happens. And so that's what all these are. Here are the ones for this month. 4 is like looks so sad compared to the others. I wish I didn't concuss myself. I literally banged my head on the bottom of my desk, so that was fun and exciting, and I'm glad I did that. I also have like a physical TBR page on my thing, and this is just because I have some of my books in my basement and some like sitting over there, and it's easier for me to like have them all here, and I can just like scroll through them and decide. But this list is actually getting pretty short, which I'm proud of. But yeah, that is going to be it for today. Oh, and here is my lovely little graphic for this month. I really love these. My mom made them, like I said. She wanted to, and so we have these cute little graphics. It also is like a good tracker for me to see how many books, because at the bottom has like the colored in books of like, it's like 60, and then the amount colored in is how many I've read, if that makes sense. Kind of reminds me of this bookmark I had where you could like fill in the books for the year. But that is going to be it for today. So if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. Comment any video ideas you want to see down below. Subscribe if you want to see more from me. And I think that's about it. I will see you guys again next week, hopefully. I haven't been the most consistent. I'm sorry. I am sorry. But that's going to be about it. So, bye guys.